I'm Rip Esselstyn, and you're listening to the Plant Strong podcast. Joe Gagnon turned a life of stress and relentless pursuit of success into one that was filled with purpose, balance, and growth. From finding his why to embracing discomfort and building health pillars, Joe reminds us that real transformation starts small with courage, commitment, and consistency. Gotta love those 3 C's. And yes, that also included a whole food Plant Strong diet. We'll have his remarkable story right after this. Before we dive in with Joe today, I just want to say how fired up I am by the incredible feedback that's coming in from the Real 30 community. All of the messages, the meals, the small wins that people are sharing. This is exactly what this challenge was designed for. Real food, real progress, and real life. And if you're listening and you're thinking that you missed the boat on the Real 30, you have not. It's absolutely not too late to join. You can jump in, meet yourself where you are, and then start stacking simple wins immediately. One of the things that people love most is the savings on Plant Strong foods, which makes it super easy to stock your pantry and then build meals around real whole plants for breakfast, lunch, and dinner without having to overthink it. If you're ready to get started, the link to join is waiting for you at plantstrong.com. And then one last reminder, if a Plant Strong retreat has been on your mind, today is the last day to save $300 on our incredible life-transforming April retreat using the code PODCAST. Real 30, real food, real community. Let's keep it going. What does it mean to truly live with intention? Today on the podcast, Joe Gagnon shares insights from his book, Living Intentionally, a bold guide to finding clarity and purpose in today's utterly chaotic world. As an ultra-distance athlete, CEO, and high-performance coach, Joe has tested the limits of what's possible, whether running 6 marathons on 6 continents in 6 days, can't even believe it, completing Badwater 135, or leading innovative companies. But his greatest discovery isn't about crossing finish lines. It's about the inner work of defining purpose and then creating habits that lead to a more grounded and fulfilling life. From finding your why to embracing discomfort and building health pillars, Joe reminds us that real transformation starts small with the 3 C's: courage, commitment, and consistency. Please welcome to the Plant Strong podcast, Joe Gagnon. All right, Joe Gagnon, I want to welcome you to the Plant Strong podcast. It is an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Rip, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to this conversation.
I am too. And for those of you that aren't aware of who Joe is, he just wrote a book. This is it. It's called Living Intentionally. And it's how intentionality enables success, fulfillment, and growth. And it's going to be sitting on my bedside stand for a long time because there's so many incredible takeaways. This is kind of like you've kind of pulled out your inner like Wayne Dwyer and Tony Robbins. It's pretty remarkable. And you've really kind of put it all on the line. You've made yourself incredibly vulnerable. And there's so many incredible takeaways. So I would love, Joe, to just kind of dive in. I think from the start, it's a great place. And, you open up the book by basically talking about how you're suffocating from the American dream and you had it all, but yet somehow or another you had nothing. So Can you explain that to the Plant Strong audience?
Yeah, thanks, Rip. Boy, you tell your story and you sometimes think like, is that really true? What happened? But
I know.
like, I
It's
went to
true.
school in the Bronx, and all of us have these identities from early in our life, right? That's really what happens. And then something happens, we get influenced, and then can we shed who we were and become something new, right? And it's easy to sort of tell the story afterward. I don't know that I was so intentional, no pun intended, really, like when it happened. But I graduated college. It was a tough time to get a job. I got this ridiculous job. I was making $7 an hour. I always tell people, like, the first week of work, my car was stolen. My girlfriend broke up with me, and I had to move back in my parents' basement. And it was like the end. Like, that was the end, you know. And instead of the end, I made it the beginning. It was the first of many beginnings, but they were mostly career beginnings over the next 19 years. Like, I focused on outworking the world, right? I didn't have this background to trade on. I wasn't the son of a Olympic athlete. I didn't have a big diploma. I had nothing but, sort of what was between my two ears and in my heart. But, I got married. We had two kids. I was focused on saving money for college. And somewhere along the way, I turned 39 years old and sort of just, I don't know that I woke up one day in that suffocating feeling, but I was like, this can't be it. Like, I'm making $1 million a year, got everything we want, bought a big house, the BMW, the country club, like the whole thing seemed perfect. I didn't laugh. I would watch the kids, they'd laugh. Like, why are they laughing? What's so funny? Like, I was so serious. I
Right.
missed holidays because I had to work. I couldn't barely take a vacation. And I was like, this just can't be the next 50 years of my life. I probably wouldn't have 50 years. And so I tried to run a mile and do a push up. I couldn't do either. Look, I wasn't plant based back then, and I was pretty good at drinking alcohol,
Yeah.
and I had to shed all of that. I had to rebuild myself. I had to walk away. I left that $1 million a year for $100,000, which, by the way, I know is still a reasonable amount of money,
Yep.
but it's a lot to walk away from. But I was so happy to walk away from it. I went into a startup, sort of had a lot of aspiration and probably not realistic expectations, but it was the beginning of me starting to create the next version of myself. And, when we fast forward and we'll come back, but, was it like 25 years later, it's remarkable what you can go create. So I don't care when you start, it's always a new beginning.
Yeah.
And I thought the most important lesson I took away was, whose life was I living? Why was I living what I thought everyone told me I should do?
Mm.
Why wasn't I doing the things that I wanted to do? Why couldn't I show up for vacation or have a good time? Why couldn't I go out on a 5-mile run? Couldn't do any of those things. And so I started saying, look, the only thing that matters is prioritizing differently. Me first, family second, work third. Because if you don't show up well, you can't show up for anything well.
Mm. Mm.
I had a very tolerant, and I'm sure that some of your listeners will feel this. People excuse your bad behavior. It's
Mm.
okay. He's just working a lot, right? That's okay. They didn't show up. And no one calls you out on it. And it's like, yeah, maybe they don't have the responsibility to do that. But I'm glad I woke up, all these years later, then, became plant-based. I stopped drinking alcohol. I exercise every day. I started writing. I started having intention, and a set of values. And so it started building. But it was, year after year. And I can, pause. But the
Yeah.
key was this idea that I realized the life that we live needs to be our life. And that, I don't know, Rip, I'm sure like you, I've never met anyone who ends their life saying, boy, I just wish I had more money in the bank now. Like, or I had more meetings to go to. Like, the things that we know, we absolutely know this conclusively. And yet
Yeah.
we fall into the trap
Yeah, we sure do. Yeah.
and we pull ourselves out. Don't wait for someone to pull you out. If you're lucky enough that someone does that, great. But otherwise,
Yeah.
like, let's get some agency and take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you say that, you were just stuck in this unconscious trap of doing instead of being. And so when you started being instead of doing, um, how did that go over with your wife and your family? I mean, was it even perceptible, or was it kind of a gradual transition?
Mostly gradual. And it went this way. You used to get up at 7 o'clock. If you want to do something else, you better get up at 6:30, or then maybe 6 or 5:30 or 5. I started realizing that no one cares what you do at 5 in the morning.
True.
It's like I found some time. I found an hour of time that could be mine that I could start to rebuild. And they started appreciating that, I could show up and go for a walk or negotiate. Because when you had the breakthrough, then what you start doing sort of reflects back into the rest of your life. So they were actually pretty happy about it. Like, I got still married 37 years later. I married a saint. She put up with me, still puts up with me. She let me be the person that I am. And so as she saw this, probably the guy she met, before, right, was starting to develop again. It really started to work in my favor. Now, admittedly, when I started doing a lot of racing, no one showed up at the races but me. It wasn't like they were coming along to cheer me on. They're like, okay, good, go have some fun, do your thing. Uh, and then, I replaced the alcohol with riding and running. And that
Yeah.
was the best move I ever made, because if I needed an outlet, just go out for a run, and then everything was fine. So I think they appreciated the change because it made everyone else's life easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned you did the running and the riding instead of the alcohol. Like, how were you doing a lot of alcohol? Were you an alcoholic, or no?
People always ask that question. I don't think so, but
Yeah.
this is one of the rules of life that I have, 1 equals N, 0 always equals 0. So if you don't have any, it's really easy. If you have one, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, one is whatever.
Right.
My intensity reflected everywhere in what I did. So it was never a little of anything. It was always a lot of everything. So you wanted to take those things out of the system. So, running 3 miles is great, but running 15 is better. Having one drink is great, and 9 are good, and so
Mm-hmm.
So it was easier. It's just easier. 0, you don't negotiate. You just decide, and then you leave your executive function for the important decisions in your life, not, oh, can I survive 1? Now, by the way, I didn't like the idea of that you would drink and get in a car either. And so, that was never a good, that was like Russian roulette every time. So it was
Yeah.
very easy to stop. It helped my performance in the beginning when I was doing Ironman. And I just could tell the difference if I had a beer. I lost a minute on the bike, and I got so dialed in that everything was easy. It was like, I've never missed it, not one day. Never missed meet one day. All of it fit back to the person I was building, so it was easy.
Well, okay. So I definitely want to get into, obviously your athletic career and some other things. But before we do, I just think it's important, and I've picked parts of the book that I want to talk about. I mean, it's an amazingly well written book, well organized. You've done such a spectacular job. So my goal here, Joe, is to have the Plan Strong audience leave with just a bunch of pearls and nuggets. And then I'm telling everybody, get the book, read it. It will elevate your life. And I just read it in the last couple of days, and I already have implemented a lot of
Thanks.
things in the book. But let's start, Joe, with this. You talk about there's a big difference between the word yes and the word no. And I'd love for you to speak about that.
Yeah. Well, there are 2 parts to that, right? So that on one side, we have so many conditionals in how we think that we miss opportunity in life. So if you lead with yes, it opens up opportunity in ways that, like Rip says, hey, Joe, you want to come to Costa Rica with me? I'm like, yes. I didn't say, hey, Rip, will you let me know what it costs? What am I going to do there? Why am I going to be like, too many times we put so many conditionals that we never get there, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't make a judgment or not, but lead with yes, lead with an open heart. And it started open opportunities for me. It put me in places I never would have been. Like, oh, I'll go to Australia for that business meeting, or I'll go do that race, or I'll try that, or I'll help you. And the other thing that happens, Rip, is the more you say yes, the more people include you, the more they
Mm-hmm.
want you around because they're like, you're always there for me. You don't have it make it hard that I don't want to ask. Then the second thing is the no part, which is that I just say, don't hold on to no too hard. Now, I grew up, in an Italian family. My mother was first generation. We ate meat every day. We lived a certain way. And so I was never not going to eat meat. I was never not going to have a beer. I was never going to not, all these things. But I had a reason. I had a purpose. It started to make sense. And so
Mm.
I started challenging the depth of the no. Was the no this tradition or was it my belief system? Did it help me be better or did it get in the way? And what was I trying to become? And so when I started combining these, this was like the lottery ticket that I cashed and I had the winning number. I was like figuring out life through these lenses of opening opportunity and being able to move behind constraints, beyond
Mm.
some constraints that were put in place by others, not by me. Now, if you agree that that's what you want to do, amen. That's cool. People should decide. We all have agency. But just because it was doesn't mean it is what it should be, right? And so it's helped me immensely turn almost everything into a beginning versus an end, no matter
Mm.
where we are. You probably read the books on failure and suffering and struggle, like discomfort. All of that are the pathways to growth. The
Yeah.
pathway to growth is through the word no, over it. The pathway to growth is through the word yes. Like I live in the dictionary, Rip. Like the dictionary opens up your mind if you think of those words as enablers, not disablers. And
Yeah.
so that's what started to happen. And my gosh, the funniest part about it, you would think everyone would copy you. Like, oh my God, the kid got the secret. He's working on all the projects because he always says yes. You know what they do? They say no. Like, it's just, I don't understand. Like, this is the thing you have power of to do. Now, it doesn't happen just instantly, but it does compound, just like compounding interest, and it creates great career, great life. Everything becomes beautiful.
Say yes to life.
Yes.
I say yes to life, and you will have that much more of a rich life. I absolutely love it. That is so well said. So you say that the starting point of intentional living is finding out what your why is, and that then creates your North Star that will help guide you home when you are lost in all of the noise of daily life. So for the listener that's sitting here, how do we go about creating our why? And were you able to like create your why like that, or was it something that obviously has grown and evolved over time?
So first, I'm sure you have a very wide age range on the podcast, right? So it could change over our life. When you're
20 to 99.
there, you go. Like when I'm 20, my why could be different than when I'm 70, right? Because we are at different stages in our life development. One, we're establishing ourselves as ourselves. Then we establish ourselves in the community. Then we establish ourselves as a contributor back to community. And at each of those stages, we can have a deep level of purpose. The purpose is the reason we're here. And
Hmm.
so I do think it evolves, and I think it has to be representative of not just the stage, but your priorities are. So I don't think it's a hard answer, and I don't think it's a simple answer. This is
Right.
not something that should intimidate any of us. I wrote in the book, and you saw this, right? There's some questions. Just be with yourself. What matters to you? What do you want to put yourself into? How do you make this a better world? Like instead of saying what you don't like, how do you want to role model behavior? Like who do you want to become? Like so much of what I've realized is that we need to respect ourselves deeply
Hmm.
first. And when we do, then we hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard and a set of values. And then we can lean into our purpose. So the purpose becomes easier to develop when you start to feel good about that you've accomplished some of your own objectives. Probably read about in the book that there was a point when I was trying to find an accountability partner. I didn't have a friend like Rip, for example. So I built a spreadsheet I wrote down what I did every day for the past 25 years. It became my accountability partner. It built confidence in me. I started to believe in myself. I'm like, look at that. You can do this for 150 days in a row. You can do this for 1,000 days in a row. Oh my God, look at how much power you have. And from that, then you can get bolder about your purpose, right? And so for me, at this stage, it was about building myself so I can help build others.
And yeah, and Joe, speaking of accountability and kind of getting on a roll, how many days in a row now is it that you have done your is it your blog, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah.
4,720 days in a row I've written the blog. Yeah.
That's remarkable. That's really
And
remarkable.
because
Wow.
like it is the process, I do a lot of podcasts like you probably, and like someone says, what are the 3 things you do every day? I'm like, well, you forget brushing your teeth and eating and sleeping. Like I always write, I breathe, and I move. And so they are part of me. You can't say, when are you going to stop? Because I'm like, well, am I going to stop living? I don't really understand this thing, So it's become a method for me to stay true to the vision that I created and actually to the purpose that I have. Because if I'm going to be so bold as to say that I can help build others, then I have to have been down the path myself. I have to have had the experiences, the discomfort, the struggle, the hard part, and the good to see what it takes so that I'm not telling someone how to live, but I want to at least give them a reference point. And so the other part is we don't have to be so precise about our why, but what's most important is building the foundation to support it. Right? Because it's easy to write down our purpose. And then a year later, we're like, yeah, but I never did anything about that. And so that's what the first part of the book was about. And, really the inspiration behind the book was, Joe, it took you 25 years to figure this out. Don't you think you should share it? Don't you think you should try and create some framework that if someone was interested in being intentional? So it says, okay, I got my why. It's where we all start. And then the next part is build the pillars, right? Build the pillars of healthy living. You talk about this all the time. Then master reflection. You got to be able to keep looking at yourself.
Well, before you go on to the reflection, do you want to talk about those 3 pillars? Because I think they're pretty good, and I think I look at people that I think have been able to break through the veil, so to speak, and find that intentionality and not really care what other people think and find their purpose and stuff. And I think a lot of it is grounded in those 3 pillars. So
yeah. So there are like the health pillars that are foundational, like later in the book, which is sleep, exercise, eating, mindset, and community. Those are like your operating system or your firmware. Right? This is like we all need that, like for the computer to run or for us to run. We don't run if we don't actually have them be solid. But on top of that is like sort of the next layer of the foundation, which is this idea of grit and grace and grounded. And so if we recognize how life plays out for us, like this is the experience that we have, the ability to have grit, which is this idea of sort of perseverance over time, the ability to endure through difficulty, but also show up, with a level of integrity. And I think that everyone can sort of say, yeah, I can sort of feel that I sometimes have grit, sometimes, that willingness to push through. On the other side is the being grounded, integrity, having values, having principles, having ethics, not negotiating on them, all makes sense. And I think high performers do very well with grit and being grounded. And where we mostly fall is at grace. Having the ability to accept us for who we are, for the mistakes we make, for the way that we go about life when we're not perfect, for not feeling bad about that something happened. It's okay, right? Like when you combine the 3, it actually sort of compounds on itself, and it gives us this like very unique characteristic that people are like, that person's sort of a little bit different. I wonder what it is about them. They sort of walk with their shoulders back and their head high, but they're not arrogant. They don't have ego. They're not sitting in this only milestone mindset. The accomplishments are who I am, right? They are the path. They're not walking the path. Because they integrate almost like the best recipe you'd ever make. The recipe doesn't taste like the 3 ingredients. It tastes like the output from that. And so they were for me, especially working on Grace. And I think you probably read the story about my wife with the pink robe, but we always want to make sure that if we can explain how we're feeling, the world will accept us. The world will accept us. It will never be critical. Like I say, hey, Rip, I'm not feeling that good today. You change how you feel about me in that moment. But if I come right at you, because I'm fussy, you'll be like, you're defensive then. So that's what Grace does. It opens up the world to you to be your best version of yourself with your grit and your groundedness.
You have already spoken a fair amount about discomfort and suffering, and obviously that's something that you have done a fair amount of, especially in all of your athletic endeavors. Tell me, like, in your opinion, why is discomfort where the growth really happens?
Well, there's two parts. There's a physiological part. Muscles, everyone knows, right? You go and you lift a lot of weights and all of a sudden you're sore. Well, your muscle fibers ripped and now they got to build again. So that discomfort, we might call it pain, is a natural growth process. So there's this physiological, biological process that discomfort is a noisy system, right? Like we don't have the time to let it just sort of like be nominally painful so that it would go over days and days and you wouldn't feel anything because we would never grow. We need a dynamic response. And then the second part is that our emotional system is similar. We need to test it. We need to build up more resilience in our autonomic nervous system, in the way that our neuromodulators work, in the essence of the way our whole body works, right? Neurons get built bigger. And so everything that we've convinced people we should avoid is the path to thriving. And then if we go into the path of comfort, is only surviving. And I don't know who really just wants to survive. Like surviving means this idea of balance, which I object to significantly. There is no balance in a vibrant, exciting, amazing life, right? Integrated, sure, but not balanced. It's intense. It pushes lots of different pieces. So to me, when we learn to embrace the discomfort, the suffering, the failure, the strain and the struggle, we are on this growth path. When we wonder why we didn't grow, that's pretty simple. We avoided the method. This is literally the method. Somehow we defined these words as the obstacles, not the method. So
isn't that I think that everything, the way you come back to that theme in the book several times. You quote Marcus Aurelius, like what stands in the way becomes the way, and Buddhist teachings that suffering isn't the enemy, but it's the teacher, which is so beautiful. So we're almost, if we could teach our children and ourselves, listen, get out there and fail. It's okay. It's the best teacher out there. But we're all so scared of suffering and failing.
Yeah. So like my favorite example, like, is we're all so darn afraid of the rain. Oh my God, it's going to rain.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Like in my coaching world, I say to someone, look, next time it rains and it's not 32 degrees, go out without your jacket on and walk around for a half hour and get soaked to the bone. And then go back in your house and change into your dry clothes. And you'd be like, I think I'm okay. Huh. Like this is like a simple way to realize that we've over dramatized something into an obstacle that we can't get over. Like if you're going to go ultra marathoning, you better be used to being out in the rain, right? Or the cold or the something, because it's the only way to get to the end. But I think that the other part about it is that, like, so I have this like deeply intense curiosity. I want to know how it feels. This is a privilege. I want to know, like when I went and ran 6 marathons, 6 continents, 6 days, the first day I wrote myself a note. The lows would be the highs.
Yeah.
I wanted to go feel how bad it could feel. I was like, that is like incredible. And everyone would be like, I don't want to feel like that. I'm like, yeah, but this is something like literally you could go do and see. Now you are unique because you felt something. And by the way, as you know, in the book, I said at the end, it was like, that wasn't that hard. I wonder why it wasn't that hard. I'm like, oh, dope. Mindset. You had defined the lows as the highs. The highs became the whole thing. There were no lows. It never really was that hard. I was like, but it just shows what's possible. Mine is always this like, now, we're not talking about something that has massive consequences in a negative way, right? We're talking about all of this normalized risk that's not going to really, it's okay. It really is. And by the way, if you can't do it on your own, there are friends of yours, I bet, who will do it with you, who will tell you it's okay. It's okay. I got your back. I'm here for you. Like I would be here for everyone.
Yeah. So you have littered throughout the book, you have some great anecdotal stories. Obviously, you start off the book with the 6 marathons in 6 days on 6 different continents, and the quote that you just said. You're embracing, right, to let the lows be the highs, and you're able to pull it off dramatically. In 2022, you did the Sea to the Sea 300-mile adventure race that you said it was an odyssey that redefined your concept of endurance. Like tell us a little bit about that. I want to understand how difficult that was.
So this is from the Gulf of Mexico to the Atlantic across Florida. Canoeing, biking, trekking. Oh. This is without any map, but just, it's a compass and a map, but no directions. And you have to find your way. We ended up canoeing 50 miles, which, by the way, is harder than running 100 miles. And we had to go from station to station with our equipment, all of it.
And 70 stations, is that right?
Yeah, 70 stations. It was going to give us 72 hours to finish this race, 300 miles. And you basically, unless we tried to sleep, we slept for about 30 minutes across the 70 hours. But where they hid these checkpoints was like in the middle of these palmettos, and you just scrape up your legs. Like I've realized afterwards why everyone was wearing long pants and I was wearing shorts. This was a major tragic problem because my legs looked like literally I'd have to fight with 25 cats. So putting on sunscreen killed it, and trying to clean it killed it. Like it was extraordinarily painful to walk through that. And you had to, like, we canoed for 15 straight hours. The blisters that formed on our back were as bad as anything you could imagine because you were just rubbing for 15 hours of this canoeing. And then, like, it was a funny thing. I got off the canoe and I went for a 10-mile run. It was the easiest run I had ever done because I wanted to be out of the canoe.
Yeah.
But the dynamics of adventure racing are interesting because usually the issues are the interpersonal relationship issues. The navigator has an idea, you might disagree, you can't say that. Someone says, why are you going so slow? Why aren't you going faster? Should we stop for food? And it's this interpersonal dynamic under stress that creates another layer that you don't expect. Especially if you're on your own, you just sort of decide, I'm going to go do this, and you keep moving. And so you got to move as a team, and it can flare up as we get more tired. And 70 hours is a long time to be up with that kind of physical exertion in the hot sun in Florida, et cetera, your ability to use your executive function goes down and down and down. And so now you're into this survival thing, and bad decisions happen. Let's go here, let's go there. And yeah, it just makes for, the end never seems close.
Was it teams of 2? It
was teams of 2. We did hook up with another team of 2. And I pulled off the miracle of the entire race because it was a couple, the other 2, and it was me and my friend Dirk. And Dirk and the other guy wanted to try to go do something, and I knew it was wrong. So I told the guy's wife, you need to tell your husband you're not going to go do it because he'll listen to you. Yeah. But no one would listen to me. And she did. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll listen. So it was one of the things I pulled off. It just stopped us from doing an extra 10 miles for no good reason because we would have gone the wrong way. But they were so insistent that they were right. This is the dynamic, this is like what's so interesting about adventure racing is you add interpersonal challenges under stress to the ultra endurance activity such that you can make some mistakes.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Well, what's funny is that I can't even imagine 72 hours without sleep, because it certainly isn't part of your 5 pillars of the firmware at the end, which is, sleep, community, nutrition, exercise, and what am I leaving out?
Mindset.
Mental
Yeah.
mindset. Yeah, exactly.
No.
You're a big fan of Diana Nyad,
Yes.
and whose mantra is find a way. I am a former swimmer. I appreciate what she was able to do. How inspirational was she in kind of your thinking?
Yeah. What was amazing, right, was so she was so accomplished before she ever took on the Cuba to Florida challenge that she had no reason to do this. Like, she could have traded on her history as an amazing endurance swimmer, right? Athlete and everything. But she set out with this idea, and not at a young age either, to
Yeah,
do something no one ever had done. I think she was 60 years old. And I thought, okay, that's pretty interesting. And she failed and she said, I'm going to go back. But in the middle of it, everyone told her no, right? And all of her support didn't want her to do it again. And she kept going through because she knew inside her she had the ability to do this. So the circumstances had to contribute in her favor a little bit. But I never felt someone who was so committed to achieving an objective like she was against the odds, because I do think that if you're going to go on the path of intentional living, you will have detractors and people telling you no. You have to be ready for that. You have to believe it deep in your heart that you're doing the right thing for you and the rest of the world. And so she reflected that back to me, which is like, no, don't quit just because other people tell you not to do it.
yeah.
And I fall into that category now.
Did she had a documentary? Did you watch that documentary?
I did. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the book, and then Jodie Foster was in the actual movie that they did, and so I thought, of the people in the stories of history, we got athletes who are just like at the top of their game for a short period of time, and then you never hear from them again. I actually think we need to be athletes our whole life. We just don't have to focus on the milestone of seconds or minutes or miles, but we have to have the athlete mindset, the mindset that this system is made to move. It's made to be vibrant. It has a lot of vitality, but it only shows that when you use it. And so I like looking for people who are going to do this to the last day. And that's my plan.
Yeah. When you first started your foray into competitions and Ironmans and ultra endurance races, were you concerned about the clock?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I lived for that. I lived for seconds and minutes. I had 3 different coaches along the way. I was trying to qualify for everything from the Boston Marathon to go to Kona. I wanted to be competitive minimally in age group. I started so late that I was not going to be competitive at the level of the entirety. But in Ironman in 2011 or 12, I came in 200th out of 3,000 people, and so.
Where was that? Was that in Kona?
Panama City.
Panama City. Nice.
And so I was always aiming for that. Like, yeah, I don't anymore. But it played a big role. The first book I wrote was Living the High Performance Life.
Right.
7 years later, I write Living Intentionally. Something happened to this boy for sure since then that realized that maybe I'm not my accomplishments.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm more than that.
Isn't that interesting? Maybe I'm not my accomplishments. That's something that I think we all need to kind of sit and reflect on. So let's move to reflection, because you talk about how reflection really is the operating system for intentional living, and how there's micro and macro insights, and how it also doesn't have to always be a solo act. So can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think that this idea of by default rather than by design, our system, the way the human system works, it's good on repeat. And so we can do the same thing over and over again, whether you worked in a manufacturing job, you're a runner, you're an office worker, we could do the same thing exactly every day. And in that, no learning really happens. We plateau, right? And when you're in a plateau, it's one of the most important times to reflect, like, okay, I've learned something. What else do I need to know? But we need to step back and embrace that. Like, don't let it just sit there. And so that's part one, which is to know when we've plateaued. And we can do that through both a feeling maybe of boredom, right? Which is a bad feeling. Like if you feel bored, that's personal responsibility to take care of that. If you don't feel progress happening, if you don't feel growth, if you're not learning, these are all signals that I should step back and look at objectively. What am I doing? How am I doing it? It's great to ask people, right? Do it with your mouth zipped closed. Tell me, Rip, what do you think? And just be willing to listen. Like we should, look, everyone knows, like, the old story, right? If you have something on your shirt, no one tells you it's still there. Like, please tell me. Like, come on. Like, I need to know. It might feel bad for a few seconds, but it is there as the sort of the jumping off point to improvement. So first is take a look in the mirror. Do you like what you see? Are you accountable to yourself? Do you have integrity? The second is open yourself up to other people who know you, who will give you feedback. And the third is to look for role models in the world that you can learn something from. You mentioned some names, like whether it is a Ryan Holiday or Marcus Aurelius in the world of the Stoics, or it could be an athlete that you deeply respect. It seems like we sometimes respect people further away from us than people close to us. So if that's the way to do that, it's a good way to reflect. Say, how did they get there? What would I have to do to get there? And then the accountability part is the other part of reflection, which is we need to be very, like, it's intentional, but with a plan. The plan then gets measured, and that allows us to then achieve the objective, right? And so that was what was so great about my spreadsheet, or it continues to be, is because I can look very objectively at what I did. And did I accomplish the goal? And then if not, then you could ask yourself the question, like, what happened? And so you get better at the questions. I had this story one time. I think a 365-day goal is great. Do something every day of the year. Whatever. Pick anything. Literally anything. 365 days will test your abilities. So I was push-up goal time was 375 push-ups a day. I flew from Boston to LA, got in late. Uber was late, got to the hotel room, 2 a.m., got to get up at 5. And then I'm getting ready to bed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do my push-ups.
375?
Yeah.
Wait, are you doing them in sets of what?
50 or 75, something like that.
Ooh, okay.
I do 500 a day now.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm in the room by myself. There's literally no human in contact with me. And you start the discussion. You did them yesterday. You're going to do them tomorrow. No one will notice. And at that moment, your brain switches like, oh my gosh, did I really just say that? No one will notice. No one's involved in this, you dope. Like, this is you. You made the commitment. Get down and do the push-ups. You'll be fine. And I do the push-ups and I go to bed. And like, you have to learn how to overcome the objections that come from inside that you blame on the world. Right? This is what reflection is about. This is this active monitoring of what we're doing. And what it builds is this level of resilience that carries you through an ultramarathon or through a difficult business meeting or through a tough time in your life, because you've built up this tolerance. Your system is stronger, like the Navy SEALs, right? They just do hard things and then they can take on any kind of challenge. We can do that as well in our lives, but you got to simulate it because you got to build it, because the system only responds. Remember, doing nothing is comfort surviving. Doing something is active and thriving. That's where we build and grow. That's why we got to always have, movement and activity and measurement and reflection is part of it.
When did you go from 375 to 500 a day? And when was the last time you missed a day of push-ups?
I don't know. Push-ups probably like 4 years ago. I started with 350, then the next year was 375, then the next year was 425, and this year I said, I wonder if I could do 500 a day. I wonder if I added it up, it's like a 500,000 in the past 4 years. But just because I humor myself too, Rip, I do 100 pull-ups a day.
Seriously?
Yeah. So
Joe, stop for a sec. I am floored right now of what I'm hearing. So you do 500 push-ups, you do 100 pull-ups,
300 crunches, and then I run 7 miles every day, all day.
Every day.
Every day.
So do you spread this out throughout the whole day, or do you do it all in one chunk?
I mean, my normal routine, I get up, do the 100 pull-ups, the sit-ups, run 7 miles. Then I write for a little while, then I go to work. And I come back, of course, I've eaten through the day. And then after, the hardest thing is I write the blog and do the 500 push-ups at the end of the day. So there's only one way to bed is through those two activities.
Oh my gosh, through the blog and then through the push-ups.
You can't miss them. Like, this is like, if you can't do them, you don't go to sleep. And I know I need to get to sleep.
That is phenomenal. Tell me, how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
Just about 5'11", and I weigh about 147, give or take. I need to eat more. But, just because we're humoring each other, in December, a few months ago, I wanted to see how many pull-ups I could do in 12 hours. And so I did 2,000 pull-ups in 11 hours and 40 minutes. And part of it was I wanted to see what it would feel like. I'm like, what would hurt the most? What would fail first? How would this be? Like, oh my gosh, I was so curious to see like what would happen. And there were so many things. It was just like, oh, I feel so lucky to be able to do this.
Wow. How many did you have a pattern? Because I know David Goggins was trying to do 6 pull-ups a minute for 24 hours.
I did 5 every 90 seconds. And so I'm going back at it in November, December to do the 24-hour and see if I could get. Yeah, David, I think he's done some of the things I've done after me. So I think he's copying me. He doesn't know that, but everyone talks about him. Like a 200-mile race, I ran it before he did.
Oh my gosh.
But by the way, he's a lot younger than me. And so I think he should be able to do more, but I'm holding my own. How
old are you?
We're a couple days away from being 65.
Okay. All right. I am right now. I can't even tell you how pumped up I am hearing your gusto for life, how you're just putting one kind of, goal out there after another. You're building resilience. You're living this incredibly active, rich life. I am pumped. So tell us about the bison effect, because I read about that and I was like, that is cool. And you even have a tattoo of bisons, right? Where are they?
Somewhere here. There they are.
Oh yeah, there they are.
A better image there.
There you go. So why the bison? Why bison?
Yeah. So, like, if you had a spirit animal, right, you should define the characteristics of what you stand for, right? And so, first, the bison has deep, deep history in the United States. And I do want to correct everyone that we have no buffalo in the United States except in a zoo. Buffalo don't live in North America. They live in Africa, although we call these animals the same thing. The bison are the North American animal. They've been here forever. Sadly, we killed most of them off, but we still have thousands of them still roaming. They are massive creatures. They're plant-based. Gotta love it, right?
Woo-hoo!
They get up to 2,000 pounds and 9 feet long, and they can run 30 miles an hour. They also mind their own business. Look, I'm okay, man. Just leave me alone. I'm good. I'm doing my thing. I'm eating my grass. Don't mess with me. Oh, but if you mess with them, they're just going to say, look, I'm here. So just don't mess with me. Right? So they have this intensity, but they never show it because they don't need to. They also know this idea they're smart, right? This whole thing I wrote in my book, if a storm comes, they go through the storm to get through it faster. So they're smart. So they figure out if I stand here, it's freezing cold. By the way, they have 9 layers of insulation, so they can stay out there at any temperature. Even though they look like they're freezing, they're actually warm because they have 9 layers of insulation. So they're designed for the environment. And then they're bold. They're just like stinking bold. They're just like, we're going through the storm because it's shorter to go through and be on the other side than stand here while the whole thing comes over us. So they just have so many of these amazing attributes. And then, yeah, one of the things, Rip, was I was never going to have a tattoo. Like, I didn't do that. But both of my daughters drew mountain scenes. And I thought, wow, what if I had those as the tattoos and I'd have their art with me all the time? And so I put them on my forums. I have artwork from Julianne and Kimberly carried with me. They're with me all the time. And so it's just like this blessing. Like every day I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I have this. This is such a cool thing. But I love the bison. Now, this isn't an animal you go and pet. This is like, they're wicked and amazing. And they also know how to survive. And so that's what we want to be. Like, I want to reflect a lot of those attributes.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. You've done so many different races, and you talk about some of it in the book. You talk about how the Leadville 100 race really was one that taught you a major lesson. You also talked about how you were doing a 50 miler. I can't remember where it was, but yes, it was in Tucson, and it was that DNF that really taught you something that all the others hadn't.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to talk about whichever feels appropriate.
I think that this idea of the DNF is great for everyone because we all hit this moment,
And for people that don't know what DNF means, it means did not finish.
Right. So I had built this identity of this tough guy, right? He can do everything, anything, take it on. By the way, the other thing I just want everyone to know is, like, I have run 6 different software companies. I'm not a professional athlete. I don't only do that. I still have started and run 6 companies. So that part, I still run a software company today, and I do this. So it's not like I'm this one-dimensional. That's all I do. But back to the race, my friend Joe and I were down in Tucson, and we signed up for a 50-mile race. And it was like early spring. It's supposed to be a fine day. Long story short, a monsoon came in no one expected. We were not dressed for it. All of the course markings got blown off the course. I got lost. I was lost in the mountains. It was pouring rain in the low 30s, and I was getting hypothermia. You don't over dramatize because we never know what could have happened. But I was rescued by the National Guard. They had to send people in to get us out. I could not find my way, and I was wandering for hours and hours. And my body temperature had gone down to like 94. And so I needed some care, or I probably wouldn't have made it. So fine, you survive. You're like getting ready to go back to the car and drive back to the airport. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to write my blog tonight. Oh my God, I didn't finish. How the heck am I going to tell the world I didn't finish? I'm a tough guy. Oh, I can't write it. What am I going to do? Like, how do I admit this? This is like so embarrassing. What's the matter with you? You couldn't finish the race? And I was spinning and spinning. Oh my gosh. I was like, because I had so created this identity that I wanted the world to think of me that way because I was a tough guy. Finally wrote the blog, pushed it out, and I got more notes back from writing that blog about, like, my God, we're so happy you're alive. We never thought you'd ever survive these kinds of things. Thanks for not going to the finish and trying to, kill yourself kind of thing. And I was like, oh, no one really cared about the guy as a tough guy. They just wanted me around.
Yeah.
Get out of your head and accept that this is the grace piece. It's okay. Like, it's okay. We're not here measured by that moment or any moment for that matter. Not by the dollars in our bank account, the time in your marathon, anything you've done. That is not the measurement of the person. But I had to, my sort of thick-headed nature, I needed to go through that moment to find that where I was and the world were, I could intersect in a good way. in a good way. Still could push hard, great, but don't push hard at all expense.
And so you did your blog. Did you also do the 500 push-ups after that?
Well, that was before I was doing them every
Oh,
day.
okay.
This is about 10 years ago. And
Okay.
I was doing a different thing back then. I was doing the Sally push-up challenge. And so that was another, I
Okay.
entertained myself.
So tell me, you also, you talk in the book about how you did the Tahoe 200, and that, of all the races, that one broke you wide open, and you realized what about yourself?
So just the fast story on it, right? So that year I had done 6 marathons, 6 continents. I had run 10 other marathons. This wasn't hard enough. Like, what the heck's the matter with me? I got to go run a 200-mile race. Everyone's like, why are you doing this? Like, because I need to. Like, no one's shaking their heads. So 200 miles around Lake Tahoe, 3.5 days, rainstorms. You're out there by yourself in the middle of the woods. Like, things just epic proportions. I slept 1 hour one night, 1 hour another night, the next night 2 hours. I'm literally falling apart. Turned my ankle, swollen as big as my calf, maybe as big as my thigh. The last 20 miles took me 20 hours, walking 1 mile an hour with poles. I could not move faster than that. But I'm going to make it. It's now 92 hours into this race. Come around this big hill. I see the finish line, and I literally burst out in tears. Not because my ankle hurt. And at first I'm like, why am I crying like this? I'm like sobbing, literally sobbing.
Have you, Joe, have you ever sobbed like this before?
Never. Not
in another
once.
race?
No.
Okay.
Not barely even at a funeral. Okay. Literally, no. Like, wind me tighter than, most people. And like, now I know what happened, so I can say it as though it happened in that second. But what I realized then was I was on this journey from this little kid who grew up in the Bronx, made fun of, bullied, to the career with no advance. Everything that I was doing was fighting the world and trying to prove that I belong here. Like, I am a tough guy. I am a performer. I am all these things. And then I realized that I was just trying to prove to myself that I should be here. Like, I needed to accept myself and fall in love with myself. That self-actualization, this ability to say, I belong, I'm important, and I can love myself. And, every time I say it, especially on stage, I typically tear up because I can feel it inside me every time. And that's now 8 years ago. But Rip, ever since then, it was as if this world opened up to me in a way that the peace in my heart, the elements of everything that I was fighting against made sense. I know why I'm here. I know that I should be here. As I talked to one of my philosophy friends, I fell in love with that little boy who got me here. Not because of the strain, but because it was the pathway. So that, was so unexpected, like completely unexpected. This was not what I was like, was not a design, but it was what was happening.
So was it at that moment in time that you feel like you finally were able to look in the mirror and love yourself, or was
Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. So not before that so much.
I think I was much better adjusted as a human, but had not fallen that. And I don't know if people really fully understand what you say when you're in love with yourself. It's not like this weird thing. This is about a sense of peace in our hearts. Like, we're all trying to figure out life, right? Whether it's human consciousness and what that means, whether there's a higher power, whether we're doing what we're supposed to do, whether we're making good decisions. But it all comes back to us at the end of the day. And it comes back to having purpose and values and integrity in this person that you've become, so that you can contribute back to society. You can be a good actor. Like, you can have a social conscience and share in the abundance that we have, that you can support and help people grow, that you can be here, to make it a better world for all of us. And that's where I live every day, with this deep level of care for the rest, for all of us to have equal party to this amazing life. I didn't realize that's why I was here or why we were all here,
Mm.
to share in that. And so it came
Uh,
out in an interesting way, but I'm really glad it did.
yeah. Well, you also have some quotes kind of around that subject about, you say it's about meeting yourself in the dark and not running away, right? And kind of facing yourself. And then you say, as this guy S.N. Berman suggests, at the end of every road, you meet yourself.
I felt that so much.
I do too. Yeah.
That, the when it's quiet and we're by ourselves, it's not really hard to ask the question, do you like who you are? Like you never have to tell anyone the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
But you should ask yourself the question.
Yeah.
And if you don't like the answer, shouldn't we do something about it? Like, this is up to us. This is our choices. We are the product of the choices we make. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The noise, Rip, the noise in the world is loud, but the signal is clear if you pay attention.
Mm.
It's always there.
Yeah.
Just whether
Yeah.
we choose to want that or not. We choose to listen to the noise.
Yeah. And there is a God smacking of noise out there right now. And so you really got to, bifurcate yourself from it. And I think, as you talk about, be reflective and find that signal. You talk in the book about you, Joe, and I've heard it loud and clear here. You've got a superpower, right? And it's the C3 superpower. What are the 3 C's?
Yeah, the courage to make a commitment to consistency.
Yes.
Yeah. So courage. Yeah, we all could sort of believe that there's courage inside us somewhere, this bravery, this willingness to do something. Commitment. I don't think most of us know what that word means.
Mm.
It starts here. Make a commitment to yourself. If you can do that, then it's a commitment to the world. But are you sure about what you're deciding, or did you just say something? So you got to go and evaluate. What did I just say? What am I doing? And then consistency, the desire and willingness to show up again and again and again. Now, most people think consistency is boredom, drudgery, any word you want. It's mastery. Consistency is where mastery happens. So if you put the 3 together, you have this courage to make a commitment to consistency, your life changes. Your life changes in ways you can't even imagine, because the more we do something, the more refined our system becomes. Our brain, our microbiome, every bit of it, our heart, our nervous system, because it's made to be used. This is a system that we will never find the end of our potential, right? We'll never find it, not in our lifetime. There's so much more sitting inside us. Try to unlock it. And the way to unlock it is through consistency, because it forces us. Like, I was riding my bike 15,000 miles a year for a while. And I said to my wife one day, I'm like, Anthea, I think I know how to ride my bike. She's like, what the heck are you talking about? I'm like, no, don't you understand? I'm like, I really feel like I am part of it. She's just shaking her head like, I don't understand this guy. He's a nut job. But it was all of those miles that took it to another level. Could never feel it otherwise. Like, you can't even describe these things sometimes. So I love consistency. Like, I fell in love with eating peanut butter and jelly for, my God, my whole life. Every day I'd be like, oh my God, I get to eat peanut butter and jelly today. This is the most amazing thing in the world. I love this. It's like, turn everything that you think is a problem into like the success, like into the enabler, into like, oh, wow, like I can figure out how to eat. If I eat the same thing, imagine you figured out the perfect balanced diet, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and met all your macros, all your micros, everything. But you had to eat the same thing every day. But it made you this powerful person. Yeah. Everyone would be like, I'm bored. Like, what's this bored thing? Like, why is bored getting in the way of performance or intentionality or living a great life? I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why do we use this language as the defense against what we sort of think we want? Yeah. So anyway, if you see someone who's amazing, they've mastered the 3 C's. They just don't know that that's the language they use.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm going to come back to you, finally figuring out how to like ride that bike maybe efficiently. It's like I've been biking and swimming now and running forever. And I finally feel just in the last 2 years, like I've learned how to pedal the bike in a way that's efficient, that's powerful, where I'm feeling the pedal all the way around. I'm swimming now in a way where instead of swimming so much with my hands, I'm kind of grabbing the water with my armpits. And it's incredible the amount of power and efficiency I'm getting without getting the fatigue. So you just never stop learning. But I find in order to get better, you have to be mentally engaged and be thoughtful
Sure.
about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Big time.
Okay. I appreciate the comment in the beginning. You said I wrote a well-written book.
Yeah.
I've written for 4,000 days. Wouldn't I become a better writer? Like, I mean, it's like, I appreciate that. And I'm really happy for that. But if I wanted to be a good writer, if I'd written this book 4,000 days ago, it would never, ever be as good as what it is, even though it could be better. And the same thing, like if anyone listening on this today starts playing piano and they do it for the next 25 years, do they think they would be a good piano player? I think so. They'd probably be pretty darn good. Like
Yeah.
this is like, I don't understand why we're looking for magic somewhere when it's actually straight down the middle.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It is. You know, Joe, this is called the Plant Strong podcast, in case you didn't know. And you know, we've kind of briefly touched upon you going plant-based, but you know, you talk about near the end of the book, building, you know, our own personal health forum and the 5 pillars. And obviously you've got nutrition and sleep and mindset and community. But because this is the Plant Strong podcast, I'd love to understand, what was it that shifted your viewpoint, your perception around, you know what, maybe I should look into this plant-based thing.
Yeah. Back to like, wish I was a genius and knew everything. But I had this first thing was when I was 35 years old. Every time I ate red meat, I got sick. That was pretty easy. Like, this seems pretty easy. Like, take the spoon out of your eye when you're poking yourself in your cup, right? You're like,
Right.
so that was easy. And that was like a breakthrough. I'm like, oh. And then I would just still eat, you know, the white meats, so to speak, for the next, whatever, 5 or 10 years. I don't remember exactly. I started realizing that I started having more gut issues. When you're an athlete, you're always thinking like, where's the bathroom? I was realizing it was what I was eating was causing a lot of that issue. And so I was like, oh, what if because I was so performance focused, like when I took the beer out, I was like, what if I stop eating this meat stuff, like chicken and pork and all that? And I'm like, oh, this is working. Feels like I have more energy. It's hardly easier to digest. Everything is working so nicely. I did it in stages. The last thing, I just had loved sushi at the time. It was like I felt the connection to the whole concept of what the master sushi guy did. But then, you know, I started reading about how animals are taken care of. I was working sometimes in Bentonville and I saw chicken barns and I'm like, oh my God, this industrial food complex is a horror show. I couldn't. I brought my kids there and they thought they were going to die. Like, they were so sick seeing it. And so we all changed our habits for multi reasons. First, mine was very performance focused, made me perform better. Then I saw the horror of the industrial food complex. I couldn't believe what we do to animals. And so I started building these multiple levels and reasons, you know, to the point where I just feel so good. Like, this is one of the questions, Rip, I get often, because most people think I'm an extremist. I'm like, they said, why do you live this way? If you could feel this good, why wouldn't you? Like, I don't understand. This is like the magic is all these elements together. They're so aligned that it's incredible. Like, I didn't need to get a printed lottery ticket. I got it because I figured it out. And so yes, it was a process. And I did have to go through, as I mentioned before, like, you know, 10 years after stop eating, my mother would still say, would you like a piece of chicken? And I'm like, sure, I'll have some more pasta. You're like, not everyone understands. It's okay. And I'm not like, I would love, if anyone wants to know, we'll both talk to anyone about it. I'm not trying to change everyone's life. Like, I can't do that. If you want to know, if you want to lean in, man, I am here for you, any of you, on any level, business, athletic, life, food, all of that. But I think we just need to role model the behavior so that others see it and see the benefits that come from it. And then maybe they'll go on their journey too.
So is that what you just said there? Being a role model and then them going on their journey. Is that your idea of legacy and why we should care?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think the noise that you talked about, which we won't talk about explicitly in terms of the dynamic of culture and politics that are going on here and around the world, and we're creating divisiveness where there's no need, we're creating selfishness where there's no need. There are some of us who have to show there's another way. It can be values based, right? We can have core values we don't negotiate on. Start with respect,
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
integrity. Like, we don't need to be selfish, right? We can support each other. We can celebrate each other. We can take care of the planet. This is a limited resource, but it's also abundant. But how we use it matters. And so instead of being a negative person about what others are doing, I'm going to show this alternative. And I want to talk about it. And I want to be out there. Not for anything other than everyone should see there are other choices than what we hear on the news.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, look, the life you have and the way you've lived and the community you're part of, it's amazing and beautiful. We should see more of that. There's not enough of us living this way.
Yeah.
And it's sort of why we need to tell this again and again for as many times as people will listen. Because it comes from a place of heart, right? It comes from a place of sort of like the depth of what the human system is meant to do, right? It is a shared community that works when it works together, and it works together to help everyone thrive. And I don't think there's anyone who has a right to change that. And so that's what we do. And look, I'm doing stuff all the time for people every day. If you ask, I say yes. Like this, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
And I just cute, like had a so ridiculous how easy it is to surprise and delight. Someone hit me on Instagram and said, I'm reading your book on Kindle. I'm really enjoying it. I'd love to buy a hard copy, but I have bad eyesight, so I don't know if the font size is good enough. And I wrote back, I'm like, what's your address? I'll send you a copy and you can figure it out. They're like, you mean you'd really do that? I'm like, yeah. Like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, oh, I can't even believe you're doing that. I'm like, this is pretty easy. Like, I'm just trying to help. And, wrote back, like, I can read it. This is amazing. I'm like, man, the bar is low, Rip. The bar is low.
Oh, Joe. So true. So true. So your last chapter is about basically you're telling people to start that thing that's whispering to you. And the world needs more people that are alive and that are intentional. What do you suggest is the best way to start that to go after that whisper?
I think in the beginning, because we're sort of the one funny part about the human system is we have this emotion called embarrassment. I don't know why, but we do for whatever reason. So maybe in the beginning, just do everything and don't let anyone know you're doing it. Like if you want to make mistakes, but just start.
Yeah.
Like anything, literally anything. One step, one less bad food, one less hour on TikTok. Like just start small. Like I used to say to people, like, look, there's 168 hours in the week. That's a lot of hours. Subtract sleep and work. We still got a lot of hours. This is ours. This is our currency. So I used to say, just take an hour a day for yourself. And then someone said to me, people don't think they have an hour. I said, okay, then 15 minutes. Like, let's just start there. Just control 15 minutes a day and start to build some agency, some confidence in yourself that you can do something you decided to do that maybe the rest of the world didn't want you to do. But it's for you. Remember, the priorities sound so odd. You first, family second, work third. Because you have to be powerful, resilient, and vital to be able to support the rest. So you have to invest in yourself. This is not selfish. This is actually the most giving thing you could possibly do, is to build yourself stronger, right? So that you can be there. So in the legacy, you can support people, right? And so that's it. Just start. Pick whatever you like. I think write it down. Find an accountability partner, someone who's willing to do it with you. There are a lot that's been written. I'd love if you read my book, but there's other books on habits and other disciplines that we can bring together. Any forward motion will be compounded. We know this in finance. Put money in the bank when you're 20, and when you're 70, you got a lot more money than when you were 20, and you didn't have to do much. And our health and our life is the same way. It compounds, it builds. And then before you know it, you're like, wow, I'm getting a breakthrough here. This is pretty
Yeah.
amazing. I didn't think this could happen, because that's the way the human system works. All you have to do is lean into it, and life becomes magical.
Yeah. Well, and I've told the Plant Strong listeners this in the past on different podcasts, but I just look at my parents, Ann and Essie, that are now, my mom turned 90 in July. My father's going to be 92 in December.
Amazing.
And they both have leaned into so many of the pillars that you talk about in your book, but really, the nutrition part starting in 1984. And they epitomize what a robust, full, healthy life can look like in your 90s, early 90s. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's like everything. If you want to build something strong, you build a foundation. Then you can put anything on top of it. If you have bedrock underlying it, it works. Like if you have styrofoam, maybe not. So, but this is like, I think the message for everyone is like, don't ever feel defeated. Don't ever feel defeated. We got a lot of time. Be patient. It's okay. It took me 25 years to get to this place. I wouldn't trade a minute of it. The whole thing was worth it, and it's only getting better. Like I'm still leaning into the future. Like it's hard to say I'm 65 because I don't even know what that means. Like it seems like that's when you're supposed to sign up for Medicare. I'm like, what the heck?
Well, Social Security starts at 62 if you want.
But it just is saying that this is the benefit that you could get. I use essentially no health care, right? I haven't been sick, like God help me, in 10 years. Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even know if 10 years might not even be it. Like I never got COVID. I don't ever feel bad. That isn't a coincidence. It's not.
Yeah.
It's like I literally built a very strong immune system, a strong, powerful system that can work through. But if we don't, then we know we're compromised, and that's when it gets harder.
Joe, what is your go-to breakfast in the morning?
A protein shake, a vegan protein shake. Simple, keeps me with. I have this goal of getting to 120 grams of protein a day.
Yeah,
and without that, it's hard. So that's probably typically my best start, and I've been doing that for a long time. So 50 grams of protein. It's a clean, just like pumpkin and pea and quinoa and flaxseed, and it's just got this great profile. A small manufacturer in Ireland that makes this vegan protein. It's delicious.
So you don't have like oatmeal or something like that. It's just a shake. That's all
Yeah.
you need. That's all you need in the morning, huh?
By God, Rip, I'm not even hungry. This is the problem. It makes me full till like 2 p.m. 300 calories. And I'm like, I'm not hungry. Like it's the craziest thing.
What have you had lunch today?
I did, because I had a business meeting for lunch.
So what'd you do?
Oh, I had some tofu and noodles at a Thai restaurant. So that was fine. I do eat the same breakfast and lunch every day, pretty much. It's the protein shake and then peanut butter and jelly at lunch. And then dinner is a variety of vegetables and some plant protein, that I can figure out. And then if I'm really hungry, the biggest snack that I use is nuts. I probably eat more nuts than nuts I am. I did have a moment somewhere in my 50s when I was trying to lose weight to cycle, and I'm trying to overcome my hesitancy to eat high calorie food, except I need to eat high calorie food. So nuts are great. I eat tons of cashews, almonds, walnuts. And
is your wife on board with the whole Plant Strong program?
95%, 98%. So this is one of those interesting examples. When Anthea's dad passed away, he said to her, I would like for you to eat a lobster on the anniversary of my passing every year. And so she couldn't deny him that wish. And I was like, respect that. Because, that's something that she lost him too early. And so she's always felt that connection. It was unfair. He died when he was 72. And
Yeah.
So otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, she's so. But like we are a member of a CSA, this community supported agriculture. Oh
Yeah.
my God, we get the best food ever, and there's so much that we freeze these bags, and we have like these bag freezes of this beautiful vegetables that we can cook anytime during the winter. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! So we do that a lot, or every year, and it's fun to support the farmer as well. So it's a it's a pretty good deal we have going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Joe, I just can't even tell you the impact that your book has had on me, the impact of this conversation, getting to meet you because it's the first time that we've ever met, and I love the way that you present something that can truly be life transformational, but you also have a really nice sense of humor, self-deprecating, and there is a serious fire burning within you, my man, and I am very envious of it. Way to be.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I can feel it, and I think it's there for everyone. I really
Yeah.
do because I didn't have it. It built and it grew, and it's getting better. This is like the craziest thing. Is like it's not over. Like I love keynote speaking, and on the
Yeah.
stage, I always like to tell people I can't only tell you about what I did and what I learned, but I want to tell you about what I'm going to do. The one
Mm.
thing we didn't cover, Rip, was I ran the Badwater 135 this summer. It's not in the book.
Yeah. You did?
Yeah.
Oh my, how did that go?
Oh my God. So for everyone who doesn't know, Badwater 135 is 135 miles through Death Valley. This
Oh.
race has had less people finish it than climb Mount Everest, like only
Oh.
1,000 people. July 7th, it's 120 degrees, and you got to go 135 miles over 3 mountain passes. And you finish halfway, go from the lowest point in the country, actually North America, 266 feet below sea level, and you end at 8,300 halfway at Mount Whitney. First, I never thought I'd get in, Rip. I mean, I had the qualifications, but you got to write essays. It's such a select group. I thought I had literally gotten into Harvard when they accepted me. I was like, oh my God. My training changed like nothing you've ever seen. I didn't run in a short sleeve shirt from February through July, ever. Everything was long sleeves like I'm showing here, as hot as I could be. I was in saunas all the time. I've become addicted to saunas. They're like incredible. And so
Wow. You're a fan now of the sauna, huh?
oh, yeah, amazing. The heat training there and my meditation in a sauna became incredible. Like I measured it by how long could I go without looking at my watch and thinking about nothing. And I got to 39 minutes at 195 degrees. Like I was just so in it. Oh,
Oh, oh.
incredible. And so the race is very unique and different because it's inhospitable, right? This is the place that nothing can live. But you have a crew, and the crew is there, and they drive a van 2 miles up the road. You run, they resupply you, and they do this 65 times throughout this process. First third of the race was remarkable. I felt amazing. 115 degrees, didn't matter. Go up the first mountain pass, ran down the second. Second day, you start to bake. It's 120. Sun is on you. The radiant temperature combined with the ambient temperature is like 140. Go through the second night, and the hallucinations started, and I couldn't walk a straight line, and I was crazy. They always have a pacer with you past mile 42, so someone's following you, and there's a white line that you're supposed to stay on, and I'd be wandering to the road. They're like, "Come on back." I'm like, "I am." Like I was so out of it. The hallucinations were amazing. Like I couldn't believe how much I was seeing, because electrolyte imbalance, lack of sleep, the heat, the whole thing. It got down to like 95 degrees overnight, and I'm like, this is cold. Give me a jacket. So the crew finally, I was trying some 5-minute naps, and then they finally gave me a 7-minute nap. And that's all you're getting in 7 minutes. And I woke up, and the whole thing cleared. And the last 35 miles were amazing. I power hiked up Mount Whitney, and I finished this thing feeling so positive. And Rip, my recovery from that race has been nothing short of remarkable. I started running 2 days later. I've run 60 miles every week since then. I have never felt better in my life. I'm like, I thought that was the toughest foot race in the world. And I wouldn't say I crushed it because I came in the top 3 people, but I felt amazing going through that experience, and I just
Wow.
can't even say enough about it.
Wow. What's the time limit on that?
48 hours. I finished in 43. I think
Yeah.
if I did it again, I could finish in 35.
But we're not obsessed with time
No,
anymore.
no, no. It's just meaning
Yeah.
like I was
Yeah.
moving great. I
Yeah.
lost a lot of time with my meandering. I couldn't keep up the pace. Like, this is all expected. And by the way, like one of my neuroscience buddies said, I had metacognition because I saw the hallucinations and I knew they weren't there, but I still saw them.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need psychedelics. You just should run an ultramarathon.
You, I'm sure you've heard of a guy named Harvey Lewis. You know, he's been on
Harvey
the
was
pod.
out there. His wife was my coach.
Oh,
Harvey's
really?
amazing. He wrote a endorsement in my book. Yeah, Harvey came in 7th that day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
wicked.
Yeah.
Come on, like I'm
Yeah.
just trying to get to the finish line. No, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Love Harvey.
Yeah.
I respect that's a guy. Like, he's next level.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
But
It's crazy.
Telly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. She
yeah.
made this bracelet for me.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see it, but there we go. And it has, like, on the back, it says BW 135. So I'm a Swiftie with my own bracelet here, you know.
Dang. Well, that was a great story to end this conversation, Joe. I just want to finish by reading the dedication that you have in your book to everybody. You say, for those who dare to dream, who choose purpose over comfort, and who live each day with intention, this is for you. Through quiet courage and meaningful action, a path is lit for others to follow towards growth, reflection, and the belief that more is possible when we live with intention. My Plant Strong brother, can you give me a Plant Strong fist bump?
Yeah.
This is to intention. Boom. Now, Joe, where can people go to learn more about you, read your blog, buy your book, all that stuff?
So the book is on Amazon. It's easy, Living Intentionally, Joe Gagnon. So that's easy to find there. My blog is daily published on Substack at Joe Curious. Sort of an interesting one. So at Joe Curious, every day you'd get a blog post, either an email or you can just go to Substack. It doesn't cost anything to join Substack, and you can get some great content there. I have a website under my old branding, thehighperformancelife.net, and I'm on Instagram at the High Performance Life also. So you'll see a whole bunch of stuff on Instagram. I'm not like trying to post like for anything other than the inspirations that I feel every day. So yeah, thank you, Rip. This has been amazing.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm going to carry this one for a while. All right, Joe, I look forward to the next time we get to chat or meet in person.
All right. Look forward to it too.
All right. Bye. I hope that Joe's message inspires you to reflect on your own life and how you're spending one of your greatest assets, time. Remember, living intentionally, it isn't about giant leaps. It's about the small, consistent choices that align with your purpose. And then when you stop running on autopilot, you create a life that's not only successful, but deeply, deeply meaningful. I want to thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, keep moving forward with intention. And as always, always keep it plant strong.